All right, we are live, and I just want to do this as a trial balloon. So I set up Streamlabs. That is instead of the YouTube donation mechanism, which is called, I believe it's called Super Chat. I'm not eligible for Super Chat. I don't have enough of a subscriber base. So from now on, if I'm doing a live stream, you'll be able to donate directly to the channel. Now, the only topic I wanted to live stream on at this point, just for the trial, is the Venezuela crisis. But I think it would be kind of douchey just to pocket money from it. So I did donate $15 to Venezolanos in Kendall, which is in Florida, 501c3 organization. So I'll put that information for them. 1 second. In the chat. Go here. So you guys can try that out. Now, from now on, you will be able to donate to the channel, but for this one, I do encourage you to donate to them. However, I did put in the description, the first link is to Streamlabs. You can donate to me. And for this stream and only for this stream at the moment, any proceeds would go to any proceeds would go to Venezolanos and Kendall. And I'll try to post some sort of receipt with my information blacked out that'll show that it was donated to them. So you can donate on Streamlabs through PayPal or through crypto. Now, the reason for the stream today is that we are going through kind of this limbo period right now with respect to Venezuela, where it's difficult to see how this country is going to emerge from the crisis. I don't believe that military intervention is the correct solution to this. You have gradually a lot of these countries that were sitting on the fence are simply switching over to the Guaido government because it might be a little easier to conduct business with the U.S. Given that they have their hands on most of the keys at the moment. It just isn't as practical for many of these countries overseas to let me see here. Skip frames undetected. I'm getting used to. By the way, Streamlabs has its own OBS built-in feature, so I'm actually using it for this stream. We'll see how it works out, but I am kind of anxious about this whole topic of what's going on in Venezuela because we're seeing a problem right now where people are. People are basically lining up on either side. If they're against intervention, many people assume that you're for the Maduro regime. I think nothing could be further from the truth. A lot of the reasons that Maduro came to power, and Chavez before him, is because of U.S. interventions in Latin America. And in order to break that cycle, we have to divorce ourselves from the goings-on over there. Now, I will say this. Those people saying that Venezuela is just an innocent bystander in Latin America, they don't do anything wrong, are clueless. Venezuela has basically, over the past 20 years under Chavez, they've been trying to build an anti-American coalition in Latin America. And guess what? When you openly try to undermine American interests across Latin America, the U.S. government will respond and try to screw with you. It just follows logic, okay? And all sorts of left-wing people have said that, but they make a moral judgment about that. There's no way that when you become confrontational with another country that you can expect them to just turn the other cheek. And And that's why I don't think the U.S. should intervene in Venezuela, and I don't think vice versa, that Venezuela should intervene in the affairs of other countries and basically try to run them like they had with Ecuador and with Nicaragua. I think national sovereignty is really crucial. So Guaido has been trying to establish his control over PDVSA, which is the only relevant economic bargaining chip right now in Venezuela, and I don't know how it's going to work, because a lot of the actual leadership of PDVSA nowadays is basically military, and the military is at the moment still under the thumb of Maduro, and many of them are still supporting him. But one of the problems with people who will say, well, the military will decide this, is that the military aren't necessarily going to support Maduro if they themselves can't get paid. And with this effort to isolate PDVSA and now basically wrest it from the control of Maduro, the military might start to see that, well, we can't even pay our own people. We might defect to the other side. That could be a possibility, but we don't know yet. It looks like the U.S. is trying to make it possible for that to happen. Now there's all these reports over the past couple of days that, for example, this one is from Reuters from today. Venezuela plans to fly central bank gold reserves to the UAE. Now, is some of this fake news? I don't know. How are people finding out about this? It could be that some of this is stuff that's being leaked to Reuters and other news agencies by disgruntled Maduro regime officials. Or you have to consider the other possibility. It could be just disinformation fed to the media by Maduro's enemies. I'm not here to preach to you that because Maduro is an evil piece of crap, that all of this stuff that's being said about him is true. Now, yesterday, apparently, there was a Russian plane that landed in Venezuela and took off with 20 tons of gold, headed back to Europe somewhere. And, I'm not sure how people confirm this. It says Foreign Ministry spokeswoman Maria Zakharova told reporters Thursday that she could not comment on the airliner, which was not sent for official goals. I can say that this is not about evacuation of Russian diplomats or their family members or Russian citizens that are employees of overseas agencies or companies, she said. Venezuelan lawmaker Jose Guerra claimed on Twitter that the Russian Boeing 777, owned by the airline Nordwind, that landed in Caracas Monday, was there to transport the gold from the country's central bank. So I don't know. I really don't know who to believe anymore. You can't believe Maduro because he's run an entire country into the ground, and you can't believe the media because they're pro-intervention. So we're really in a tough spot over here. Besides that, let's see here. We got this report from RT and Jimmy Dore. This is the problem here. You have pro-interventionist people in the U.S. believing literally everything negative about Maduro, and then you have people like Jimmy Dore and Rick Sanchez from RT who are putting out nonsense about how nothing out of the ordinary is going on, nothing to see here. Here we go.
Like unbelievable pandemonium down there. Well, this guy, let's listen to here he is. Let's listen to what he actually says is happening.
Well, right now, Juan Guaido is speaking in the east of the city among supporters, once again calling on the military to overthrow Maduro, as well as making other announcements. Meanwhile, life continues as normal in most parts of the city. Businesses are open, people are buying things, people are going about their business without any real interruptions, although, as if nothing had happened the past 3 days, despite the violence that we've seen the past few nights.
Wow, so it sounds like crazy down there.
So who is this person? This person is Lucas Kerner. Now, I'm taking this information from the Canary Mission. Canary Mission is also pretty biased, and they're basically, they are very much a pro-Israel research site, and they go and document a lot of stuff about anti-Israel activists. It happens to be that this reporter, Lucas Kerner, is a person who's been involved in a number of violent confrontations in Israel with police, allegedly, and basically most of his activities concerned kind of just support. He's an activist, okay? He's a pro-Palestine activist, and apparently he got into some sort of altercation a couple years ago where he bit a hand of a police officer, if you can believe that. And eventually, I mean, this is insane. So he gets arrested, and then his defense counsel over there, because in Israel you get a civil trial. His defense counsel told him that you should flee the country because that way you'll just avoid the charges, and he did. And now he's a reporter for VenezuelaAnalysis.com. VenezuelaAnalysis.com's founder is a guy named Greg Wilpert, or as I call him, Greggy Boy, who is married to the Venezuelan ambassador to Ecuador. He's a hardcore supporter of the Chavez regime. And recently, by the way, he actually admitted that the best step right now is for Maduro to negotiate his own resignation. So in summing up, RT is not really engaging with somebody who's the most. He's not an impartial reporter. He is a socialist activist on behalf of the Venezuelan government. There's just no two ways about it. By the way, please like this stream if you haven't already. And again, the donate button is you go to the first link, Streamlabs. That's to donate to my channel. For this stream, I will be donating to All for Venezuela, which is the first link in the chat. Just so you guys know. So then we get to this map over here. So this is a map as of right now. Okay, I think this is the most up-to-date map that I can find. And some of these blue dots don't really make any difference over here. These are overseas territories of a number of European countries, but essentially all of the blue dots and blurs are just these countries that support the Guaido government. The Guaido government is the pro-U.S. government. And then you have, I don't know why Mexico isn't red, but all of the red countries are the ones that are supporting Maduro. So that would be China, Laos, Cambodia. Of course, there's a lot of neutral countries. You have Russia, Iran, Syria, Turkey, and Bolivia and Suriname over in South America. I'm not sure what's going on with Uruguay. I believe yesterday they had recognized Maduro at the time. And in Africa, you have Equatorial Guinea and South Africa. They are both recognizing Maduro. The rest of the world seems to be tipping increasingly towards the new government of Guaido. The ones that, depending on who you're talking to, they could be the legitimate leaders of Venezuela. Some of the countries I think that should actually be in red, based on the information I had, are New Zealand and Mexico. I'm not sure why they're not highlighted in red, but it kind of it calls into question how long all of these countries can continue to support this Maduro regime in terms of the feasibility of it. Okay, I'm not talking about right or wrong here. That's a different conversation. We can all make a judgment. You don't need me to do it. I try to present the facts as I can. I don't want to be here as some sort of a mouthpiece for John Bolton and Mike Pompeo and the Trump administration, because I don't think that they're doing the right thing here. Okay, I think that even if you're a Trump supporter, you're probably having some doubts about U.S. intervention in Latin America, and I do too. So therefore, Therefore, I would say that if you look at this map, there are a number of countries where I think that the support would eventually fall apart. The first of which is Uruguay. Now, the reason Uruguay the support would fall apart is because they're now virtually isolated in South America. This is a country. Let me give her a map here, okay? So Venezuela recognition map. Okay, this is news. This is Australia. Let me see here. I don't know why they don't show the map. So yeah, here we go. Let me try to open this image. I think this is the most accurate image. I think New Zealand, which is cut off over here, is still recognizing Maduro. But this is accurate. You have Cuba, you have Nicaragua, El Salvador, Mexico, Bolivia, and Uruguay. Those are all recognizing Maduro. There's certain countries that are recognizing Maduro. You don't necessarily you kind of have this sense that otherwise they don't care for each other. Let's take for example Turkey and Greece. They certainly don't like each other, and Turkey and Syria are not exactly on great terms at the moment. but they certainly agree that Maduro should be the president. But I do think that while we shouldn't intervene in other countries, you do see here a pattern of countries that are kind of run by asshats are supporting Maduro. The exception, I would say, are China and Russia. I would say their leaders do have sort of a good, at least an understanding of how to run their countries. If not, I wouldn't say that they're ideal regimes at the moment. They seem. I mean, obviously, I wouldn't want to live in China or Russia, but if you look at Iran, for example, they're basically their economy is in free fall. If you look at Turkey, it's the same idea. Both of those countries have incredibly dysfunctional economies at the moment because they are both trying to flex their muscles and become regional powers. Okay, if not world powers. And I think that's really the problem right now. Because in the past, yes, you could say that the U.S. intervention in Latin America is the root of all evil over there. But now it's not true anymore because you have all these other countries also intervening in Latin America. The answer to intervention by one country is not to balance it out through intervention by other countries. It's for the world to kind of embrace this new concept that every country has a right to its own sovereignty and its own leadership that will basically lead the country into kind of a higher level of function and better, a better capability of serving its citizens. That's really what I think this is about. And when we see countries like India really sitting back and saying, hold on, we're not going to take a side here. We're going to try to do the best we can to resolve the situation so that as few people get harmed as possible. I think that's really what we want to see around the world. We don't want to see these countries throwing their weight behind a brutal dictator like Maduro, and I don't want to see countries like ours essentially putting our thumbs on the scale and manipulating other countries in order to have them serve our interests, because ultimately that causes refugee crises, that causes economic hardship, that causes this problem where we have people from the third world trying to come here. Mexico, I think that's one of the reasons that Mexico just elected a far left leader. And I don't want to see that continue to happen. I want to see these countries develop at their own pace and possibly, join the leadership of the world. Not eventually, it could be that the world becomes more equal, but people essentially mind their own business and do their manage their own countries the best way that they can without interfering with others. That's the closest thing to world peace that I expect. I never expect there to be total world peace. So once again, I was just trying this out in order to test the Streamlabs. So if you donate to my Streamlabs, I don't know if it works while I'm off stream. I will turn over the donations for this stream to allforvenezuela.com, and I've already donated $15. And I hope that you go. If you don't want to go through me, you can go to allforvenezuela.com. It is in the chat, and I will also put it in the description. And I don't know if I can put it on the description now, but here it is. It's in the chat again. So have a good night, and I hope you enjoy this stream. Also, leave some feedback because I see that there are some connection issues. And have a good night. I'll talk to you later. Please like this video, subscribe to the channel, subscribe to my other channel, Razor Ray Special Cuts, as well as my my other channels on BitChute and on CocoScope. Good night.